Super. Thanks for having me. It's very seldom I actually get to present our company this holistically to a forum like this. Normally it's in singular firms or specific clients. So a real treat, and I got 12 minutes to do it. To start off, those of you who know about Shaw, sorry, you're going to hear it again. We're a flooring manufacturer, not just carpet, but we are the largest producer of carpet in the world, the second largest flooring supplier in the world. And I don't say that to brag, because with that power comes great responsibility. We've got a huge responsibility to make sure that we look after the impact that our product has, people and planet, quite simply. Upstream from us, Shaw Contract is part of an organization called Shaw Industries, which is owned by Berkshire Hathaway, Mr. Warren Buffett. So we have vast resources, but again, a great humanitarian behind us who makes sure we do the right thing all the time. And with that responsibility, outside of our manufacturing of product, we were one of the original signatories to the World Green Building Council Net Zero commitment. We wanted to look after our properties as much as we demand that where our product goes, those of you who are property owners or developers, that we're under the same stress and pressure as you in our buildings as well as our manufacturing. So we look at it holistically. You don't have to answer this, but I always like to ask this question: is what does sustainability mean to you? Because we have a saying within our company, sustainability is a little bit like a Rubik's Cube. You can't just solve one side. There are so many moving parts that you have to look after. And our new mantra at the moment is zero is not enough. You've got to look after everything. The two big buzzwords at the moment, the two key words at the moment, circular economy and carbon. I hope today to put those together in the context of us as a product manufacturer, and I hope it relates to others. But my favorite saying, you can offset carbon, you can't offset health. Healthy materials are as important as circular. If you are going to take your product and turn it into a circular product, you don't turn bad into bad again. And with that focus on carbon and product, the way that we're moving to renewable energy only sorts out part of that problem. How we manufacture and reclaim product is as important. A huge determining factor. That's kind of how it's looked for too long. And unfortunately, certainly when it comes to our product, still looks a little bit like that. When I say our product, I talk about flooring in general. And there are a whole lot of factors that contribute to that. And that word deconstruction, I'll say that. I won't say demolition too much today. But we moved, even before Cradle to Cradle, the Institute itself came into being. We started manufacturing to principles that made our product circular. And certainly one of the biggest keys and one of the big changes for us in our organization was to make sure that we could recycle our own product. I hate the word recyclable because there's usually fine print underneath that says through the appropriate channels or through the appropriate means. We wanted to take complete ownership of that, and being able to use recycled material, our own recycled material, reduces that embodied carbon footprint dramatically. So that really is, for those who know the Cradle to Cradle certification, the Cradle to Cradle label, they measure 5 buckets or 5 pillars. Most important for us was material health, and I will go through that a little bit more in depth. Secondly was circularity. So circularity is part of a bigger circle. Social fairness, our diversity and inclusion, as well as what impact does the manufacturing of our product, the extraction of our raw materials have on communities around where those activities take place. So it's a bigger environmental impact. Certainly water and soil stewardship. We're a petrochemical intensive industry. Doesn't matter which carpet manufacturer you talk to, we are a petrochemical intensive industry. I will debate wool with anyone who wants to. And clean air and climate protection, really critical to us from that carbon perspective. For those of you that are architects and within Architects Declare, Cradle to Cradle is a big contributing factor to that pledge. And 6 out of those 10 pledges. So here was our journey. This is how we started getting into circular. First and foremost, we have got just a short contract. So let's forget about our residential components, our resilient components. We got about 7,000 SKUs that we manufacture just in short contract. And we've got about 7 other brands behind that. So to have achieved 90% of our products being manufactured and cradle to cradle certified is phenomenal, and a huge expense, a huge amount of time. And it all started in the late 90s. Everyone in the world had a PVC carpet tile. That was the backing of choice, including us. The challenge was, in the late 80s, early 90s, PVC was not the best chemical that you could use. Lots of legacy chemicals, PFAS, bad phthalates. So we said, how do we change that? We had a group of engineers who climbed right outside the box and created an entirely new backing system. And we launched that parallel to our PVC product and said, let the market decide. 3 years later, we dropped PVC. And that was purely because we could achieve a couple of things. One is manufacturing the product PVC-free, 40% lighter, and 100% and perpetually recyclable. So we could actually control that entire process without having to worry about when we got product back, what were the legacy chemicals we were getting back, and how could we actually recycle that. And today, and we were the first company globally to achieve cradle to cradle version 4, recognized by the Green Building Council. It was the first recognition. We were the first product in the built environment to have achieved that. And Hayworth has come along and become the second, and I hope there's a million more. And I think, and we're fortunate to have Kat Featherstone here. You can chat to her later, but we're hoping to move an industry. This has got to be an industry shift. It's very stringent, pretty damn difficult, but we're there. So how do we do that? We take our product back free of charge in Australia. We put it on a container and we ship it back to the US. And I know I'm going to get some questions on that, but everybody does that because it's all about scale. Just to give you some perspective, in soft floor coverings, carpet in Australia, there's about 60 million square meters used every single year. Depending on stimulus package and economy, about 9 million of that is modular carpet tile. So it's a teeny little bit. We've got a far bigger picture to look after. So we've got 9 million to 10 million square meters going on the floor every single year. It's just not enough to sustain recycling in Australia. And all of us, all of our competitors, we've all got different chemistries. So you'd have to have about 4 or 5 different recycling plants here. So we take the product, we chop it up, we put it through a heat and steam treatment, and we put it straight back into our backing. The entire product goes back into the backing. We used to separate nylon and backing. That's costly, adds another process, so you've got carbon intensity issues. This was the best way to go. 97% of what we actually get back into our factory in the US is recycled. Only 3% has been used under demolition conditions and is unusable to be recycled. It's basically full of crap and there's nothing you can do with it. But 97% is a pretty good reclamation. So our carbon footprint's pretty simple. 80% is involved in extraction and manufacturing. The rest of it is through the life cycle. That transport factor going back to our factory is 0.004% of that entire footprint, because you're not sending one container on one ship, you're sending a whole bunch back. And then 11% of embodied carbon is through fixtures and fittings in buildings. That's a huge chunk. It's a huge chunk. If we could get our product back, we cut out that 60%. Automatically. And we cut out that horrible animal there. So to prove that we're doing it, we declare these every year in our sustainability report. So this would have come out of last year. 450 million kilograms of our own product we've turned back into product. And Priscilla, as she goes around the market, will show you guys products that are made completely out of post-consumer PET bottles, along with a backing system that we use that gets rid of 2 billion of those PET bottles a year, straight back into a backing system. But with regards to putting recycled content back in product and how that relates to embodied carbon efficiencies, we started measuring on EPDs back in 2002 and publishing those. 2016 was where we kind of went, hey, we've hit the best we can do. So we published that, and that was 12.1 kilograms of CO2 a square meter. We started being able to up our recycled content in nylon in 2021, and that went to 10.7. We launched a product during COVID in the shutdown because raw materials had some issues, and we got that down to a 9.8. But then we found a way of getting some reclamation of nylon as well, and getting 100% of the top of the product recycled as well. And that takes it down to 4.7. And I'm going to sound like Jorge here. Don't tell anyone this, top secret. We've got a product coming in the coming months that'll have a 3 in front. So we're getting there. We're getting there. Look, there was a question earlier about reclamation and how do we specify it? How do we write it down to make sure that that happens? Priscilla and her colleagues around the country, and from January next year, will get an email every 2 years on every project that we've done. So they'll get an email saying, hey, you did a project in South Australia, it's 2 years old, follow it up. So we'll actually start doing that manually. But what we currently do today is we do offset that 3.8 or 4.7 as it is today. But what we want to start doing is handing out to building owners, to facilities companies, here will be your impact if you actually give me the product back. So we're trying to get awareness of that future. And let's hope that that gets written into some software programs that force that into the future. How much time have I got? 3 minutes. One of the best outcomes I could ever wish for in product stewardship. One is if you're a builder, pick up the phone, get it back to us. Think with deconstruction in mind. Demolition is unskilled labor, crowbars. They treat flooring like it looks like a crime scene when you get it back. Do the best that you can. We'll still take it back. And the other thing that's really important is good collaboration. And I will say, from an industry with a history of hating each other, there's been a lot of getting together as a flooring industry over the last couple of years. I'm happy that I sent an email to one of my major competitors yesterday for a project in Perth saying, I've got 20,000 square meters of your product. Please take it back. After a few bad words, he said, okay. But the cool thing is we're now committed as an industry. It's so important that when you go through deconstruction, hold every manufacturer accountable to those stewardship pledges. I see too many pledges and not enough action. And the other great thing that's happened is a huge growing segment in floor coverings is LVT flooring, vinyl plank. Not 1 square centimeter of that is made in Australia. It is all imported. 32 million square meters a year is imported. 32 million square meters is going into landfill currently. As an industry, we've actually got together and formed a group called ResiLoop. You will start seeing, that came from a government grant. You will start seeing some press about that soon. But we're actually finding ways to look after that in the future, because again, that's all PVC. There's still some bad juju out there. We got to find ways to fix it. So collaboration is important. Talk to us, hold us accountable, and that's all I have to say about that.